So, hi, best greetings from Munich, Germany. It's a big honor for me to be part of the whole summit, to be part of this meeting today, and of course to present the work of the expert group BIM Traffic Routes. And of course, especially to present our main, I will say, main actor today, and it's the catalog BIM classes of traffic routes. Of course, I presented a couple of slides for you, and yes, and I will, of course, start. So, first of all, just a brief or a summary of the agenda. I will say the major points, major bullets, just a small and brief introduction of myself. Then the buildingSMART Germany organization. Then, of course, the expert group BIM Traffic Routes, the knowledge behind the scenes, I will say it like that, and our main actor, the catalog BIM classes of traffic routes 2.0. So yes. When it comes to the brief introduction, my name is Ahmet Kurtagić. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I'm at Starbucks since 2017. In general, in my career, I will say I had the luck, I would say like that, to be involved in different phases of our industry, from planning to calculation, invoicing, project management, and the last part or the last step is now this whole model-based working environment, this whole BIM environment, as a BIM expert for the business unit road infrastructure for Germany. I will say my main obligation is, on the one side, of course, to incorporate our corporational goals and our corporational BIM strategy in our daily work. And on the other side, of course, to react on the market demands in case of software, hardware, and of course, in Germany on the tendering phase, executing phase. So yes, it's an interesting job, and I'm lucky to be part of it. And here you can see just a couple of contact data. And on the live side, you will have also additional contact data, so be free to ask. I'm not 100%.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hi, you can hear us.
Sorry
to interrupt you.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But we've managed to make contact so that you can hear us as well as us hearing you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, sorry about the start we just had.
Okay.
but please continue. We're hearing you loud and clear, so off you go. Cheers.
Great. So yes, and just one additional point. Of course, if you have suggestions, comments, feel free to ask after the meeting. Feel free to ask after the presentation, of course. And yeah, you can try, of course, on German, English, and on the Balkan languages, Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian, Montenegrin. So yeah, I think we will find a way if there is any comment or any question. I will go on. buildingSMART Germany. Again, buildingSMART Germany as an organization is, of course, a part of the whole buildingSMART International since 1995. And here you can also see the link below of the whole buildingSMART International site. And it's just important to say again that you see this whole family, I will say, of countries, of organizations, and they're getting bigger. And on the right side, we have 34 countries, status July 2022, and of course, additional candidates. So it's a big part to be able to present our results, to present the results of the working or expert group BIM traffic routes in front of this great public. So again, when it comes to buildingSMART Germany, also, I will say a brief reminder of the structure or membership structure. Total 705 members, and if you see the structure of the members, you see business, you see education, see public sector, and it's an important part. You see also chambers, so it's an important part that every single part of our I will say construction work cycle is in our working group, or are in different working groups, and that's important part. And also when it comes to the size of companies, you have large companies, medium, small, and that also shows different views on this whole topic, and that's also a very important part in the whole development of topics like a pre-standardization object catalog, if I can say it like that. And in the end, the membership development as also an important part. You see since 2016, 2017, really a big jump in the membership development, and it's getting more and more. So it's also a nice fact to say. One thing that is also or has to be mentioned is the buildingSMART Germany magazine. It's published first time in May 2022. And you can think about on this topic like I think this plus symbol explains it best. It's just an expand you can say expand of knowledge. It's an addition to the whole working groups. It's addition to the whole knowledge, and you can find there very interesting articles. So please be free to visit also the site. Then the work structure as an important part, again, to show how it is all functioning in Germany when it comes to the structure. There are, in general, there are 8, I will say, working group or working rooms, and I think you see them all here. I will not go through every single point. I will just say that the red marked points are the new additions to the whole working rooms, and you see also the list of expert groups, project groups, and the end also the roundtable and roundtables. And in the end, the roundtable is you can say like a one-time working meeting where further steps are discussed and further actions are discussed. And of course, our working room and our working or expert group, again, shown in this map. Also important part of this whole buildingSMART Germany concept is the technical service, the use case management. In general, when it comes I will say, and when it comes to the German market, the topic use case is getting more important. So platforms like this, where you like have the entire value chain of construction on a central platform is important. And what are I think that the major bullets are a central platform, as I said, make it accessible to all interested parties worldwide. And it's free. You can, of course, every stakeholder can visit this use case management site, and to describe it, of course, in a uniform system. And what is described in a uniform system? It's, I will say, all informations in a machine-readable, classified EFC scheme. On the one side, on the other side, what is described is like who, I will say, gets which information in which time and in which detail level. And that's the whole concept. And the goal is, of course, to be worldwide comparable, to develop a common language understanding. And when it comes to the IDM topic, avoid duplications, of course, of work. Next step, important in our whole building Smart Germany universe, is the buildingSMART publisher. And don't worry, I will not go through every single point of it. We just wanted to show you all publication series, white papers, corporations, and to show you it's a big family, and it's a huge networking system to really try and direct this whole topic in the right direction. So yes, and again, you have the link below. The presentation can be, of course, sent to you, so the informations are there. Important part I have to mention also the concept of the regional groups in buildingSMART Germany. You heard before the working room, you heard the expert group, project groups, but also the regional organization, the regional networking is really a huge and major point. It's of course supported also from the management office, and they are active now of 14 regional groups, and these regional groups I would say connect different experts that can be, of course, members of buildingSMART, can of course also be guests, and they are organized in Germany on the federal unit level. We call them BIM clusters, and yeah, it's as I said, it's important that every single I will say expert that is interested in this topic can support and can be part of this exchange of knowledge. Yeah. So you see again here the map, and of course the link below. And so I would like to continue with my next topic, or with our next topic. That's the BIM group, BIM expert group, traffic roads. First of all, of course, spokesperson that have to mentioned are, for example, Mr. Dirk Röder, Mr. Uwe Hüttner, Rainer Racke, and Mrs. Ivona Brückner from College Osnabrück. And these colleagues and other colleagues, of course, also were a major important part in the whole development. Yes. Then in general, the organizational structure, and that's also a really important part. The parties are involved are from different phases or different areas. You see building authorities, you see construction companies, you see teaching and research, and all of them are gathered around sub-working groups. And you see surveying, subsoil, road, drainage, bridge, engineering, etc. And all this make the expert group so special, because from different fields, from different parties involved, knowledge is, I will say, contributed to the in this case to the development of the catalog. What are the goals of the expert group? Exchange of experience, of course. Our main actor today, the BIM object of traffic roads class catalog. Practice data exchange, and of course, participation in different standardizations. Define standard for traffic routes. Recommendation for approval and standardization authorities, also an important part. Modeling guidelines. We saw before the topic of use cases, and modeling guidelines is also an important part of the concept. Coordinate systems, or I would say process recommendations, and in the end, also requirements for software solutions. And as I said, our main goal today. Here, just again, also important, a map. And if you see the colleagues that are maybe from Germany or know the German construction client side, they will see big and important players are all gathered together for one topic. And I think that's the interesting and important part here. So just to show the main involvement, main actors in the whole process. And to see the structure again related to the working groups. Again, working groups are responsible people, active contributors, and again, I will not go through every single point. It's just important that you see the companies, you see the people behind it, and as we saw before, different areas and different corporations are involved, which is the important part. One major, I would say one major point is the whole cooperation, coordination, and collaboration topic. And there are many important authorities, there are many important associations here, and the list is long. But for example, the Federal State Service meeting, BIM, it's important in this whole topic. The main associations of German construction industry, of course, the Association of German Engineers, for example, and also an important part, the highway, in German it's called Autobahn GmbH, the highway LTD of the federal government, as a really big player in the whole development and exchange related to the topic. And one slide that I think is important and explain the concept. It's you see here for Standardisierung. It's a pre-standardization. But it's also a practice-oriented implementation of standardization. It's not a competition to the common standardization organizations. It's really it's a base for collaborative and efficient work. So and that's the main message of our expert groups and our work environment. And of course we come to our main actor today, and the topic being classes of traffic routes. In general, I will share with you the most important information, of course, and in the last couple of 1 or 2 slides, I will show you abstract from the catalog, so that you can have also a visual sense of the whole topic. But first, the theoretical part that you that we send you the message how this whole evolved in the last couple of years. The class catalog, you can see that there are 5 major concepts or 5 major ideas behind the development or also the technical update of the new catalog, and that are the 5 that you can see here. And first of all, the extent object concept. It's simply a topic that we, with the classes, we describe informations, we add informations to concrete, to special materials, but also there are informations like that are interesting in the planning phase, that are in general interesting in the construction phase, additional references and structuring options. So the concept is not just one dimension with one information, and that's the important part and important to mention. Next, free of contradiction. You saw in a couple of slides before this whole organization and this whole subgroup organization. So you saw different areas. You saw different specialized and trade organizations. But the main goal and the most important principle is the harmonization to the whole value chain. And in the next slide, I will go a little bit more into the topic. But major word is consensus, to have a common sense for the topic. Yes. To the complete life cycle. General understandable. It's If you look at this abstract, I will say abstract logical system of classes, this whole parametric principles, it's important, as I said before, to have an understandable and readable sense for every defined class. But in every part of the chain of the value chain, and that's this general understandable concept is important. It's important that the planning department understands the class, but also the manufacturer understands the class, and that's why it's important part. Independent, I think it explains itself. It's independent of geometry. It's independent of any common data exchange format or type. It gives informations and classifications to the materials that we need in our daily work, and it's not, as we said, it's not a competition to define standards. So it has to be independent of software solutions. In that case, and implementable, we will say an important sense or an important topic, because when we talk about classes, when we talk about object, the object have to be deployed in this whole I would say template of this whole concept of our catalog. And it's important that these classes are practical, that they're implementable in every phase. So that's why I would say the surveying or analyzing part of which class can describe the information the best and which not, is important, and that's why it has to be implementable in our concept. So as I said before, the whole harmonization part is important, and I think this slide explains it really good. First of all, to get this general sense, the classes or the trade objects are generally, you can say, available at a trade model level, and that was the first initial point. And what does it mean? That means that you have object models from planner, executor, of course, on this trade model level. You have them also from operator and manufacturer. You see here the planner and executor have their concepts, have their trade objects, have their attributes or properties that are important for different phases of their daily work. The manufacturer have their parts, have their specialized objects that have also been involved in the concept. So the harmonization and synchronization of this different parts of the value chain, it was the most difficult part. And to derive this information into the group, class, and type specification was even harder, and that's the important part why this whole concept of different subgroups and this whole exchange was important. And if you in general, if you look at the general work steps, for example, you have a data source based on the object or trade model. You try, of course, to collect the classes from this trade model, descriptions, properties, etc. What do you next? You specify, you make a domain-specific structure. You specify, for example, what do we need for the rail model, or what we need for the rail structure. Of course, after that, there goes the technical verification, and it has to make sense. And after that, then comes the part of creation of class-related definitions, and the last part, of course, the extension of the class-related definitions in form from type expressions. And this all has to be done in with different trade models and different, as we saw, different participants, and that was the main obstacle or the main challenge, which was in the definition of the classes. Yes. So before I jump to the updated version, just to mention that of course the first step was the building the class catalog of Jeffrey Cruz 1.0. It was, I think, published in May 2020. And here you can see a list of classes as a central gathering, as a central information pool. And around that, you see list of classes considered, and you see list of classes in progress. And the landscape outdoor facility is something that is especially an addition to the new updated version. But you see again, you see surveying, you see tunnel or special civil engineering, you see bridge, you see road and drainage, you see railroad, you see subsoil, and all this, all this information gather about the total list of classes. And the first version had 146 classes. Yes. And here you see again just the abstract of the I will call it old catalog with the class description. You have the Merkmal in German, it's property or attribute type, and you have the description of the structure. Again, it was a good concept. We used it in different developments, also in the construction industry, because we needed this description of our materials that we use in our daily work when it comes to model-based working environment. But of course, it had a potential to maybe to adapt some points, and that's the case, and that's the reason why the version 2.0, I will say, was published or was developed and was worked on. And what are the additions? Of addition of you saw the waterway and harbor part, extension of the subject, as I said, landscape outdoor facility. Important part, extended concept of class specification. I will come to this point in a slide after that. Important, we heard today a couple of times this whole networking concept, but this whole intensive cooperation with other, I will say, standardization concepts like the DAO, for example, was important. Change over to the pre-attribute or pre-property server. First property groups, properties per class were defined and are still in the defining process, which is an important thing. Editorial, of course, adjustments. There are new conclusions, new ideas, assignment to the existing EFT classes, EFT 4.3. I will show you that also in just an abstract. Strategic cooperation with Highway Ltd, with Autobahngesellschaft, as we mentioned before, as a major and important also part, and deployment of the I will say of the harmonious catalog on the database of Germany. It is a fresh topic. The database is official, I think, a couple of days old, so it also will be a part of our work. And as I said, an interesting concept is the class specification concept. Again, here I will just show you the additions, I will say it like that. This whole additional characterization of the classes that are visible in the terms of attribute or properties, class type, construction element, structural element, reference element, and situation element. Attribute or property in terms from prototyping. Is it the catalog element? Is it the individual element? Again, I will explain it on an example on the catalog. Attribute coordinate dimension, none, 1D, 2D, 3D, and future or object dimension, which can be seen as a point, line, area, volume. Again, I will mention it again, and the attribute or property geometry calculation, which can be explicit or implicit. And in the end, addition was also done to the type specification, just for a better differentiation between the classes. Again, I will definitely explain on an example and on our catalog. But again, the new catalog is published October, or will be published in a couple of days in 2022. You see here the main I will say sub-trades that were involved, and the total list of classes are 290. It's different compared to the 146 in a 1.0 version. And again, it was the major part, and the most important part was this whole networking between an exchange between the subgroups. And of course, here we are, and here is our main actor today, of course, the catalog. It's alphabetically structured, and it's abstract. And what can you see here? You see the classes, you see the type, you can say a type description. The type description at itself is still an open list because we are in a fast growing environment, and of course there will be additional, I will say, type descriptions. So it's important that this part is still alive and will be alive. Metadata, class type, prototyping, I explained also, coordination dimension, object dimension, geometric calculation, and a description to, again, to give additional information to the whole topic. When it comes to the, I mean, you see here, for example, the class structure, Abdeckung, I hope I get it right. It's, for example, cover. For example, Abdichtung is the ceiling concept. And the ceiling concept has type descriptions, more detailed, for example, injection or drainage web, for example, that are related to the class ceiling, but are to the whole life cycle of, and that's the important part, are gathered information in the whole construction life cycle from different phases, and that's the important part. That's the type description. The metadata class and metadata geometry, the class type is differentiated between construction element. For example, a construction element is you can think about it as a physical. It's a physical element. For example, a survey layer. Just an example. Then the next step is the structural element, and the structural element you can think about it like spatial logic and spatial structuring. For example, the whole substructure. Then the next step is a reference element, and that's the case with I will say parametric spatial placement. For example, axis, gradient. I hope I said it right. And the situation element, it's not a physical component. It's, for example, describing the usage, describing the planned situation. And for example, it can be land acquisition, it can be a functional relationship. And it's a good option to have it like also for filtering, just to filter between this whole major concepts. Prototyping, it's I think it can be derived from the description. It can be a catalog element. What does it mean catalog element? For example, element from a manufacturer that has like an object that has to be put in a modeling environment, and the individual element is the you can say the element that is derived from a software as itself in the process of modeling. In general, the coordination system, of course, it's important concept. It's related to the spatial part and can be 1D, for example, an elevation based data. It can be, for example, 2.5D terrain with an elevation, for example, in the GIS environment, or it can be a 3-dimensional solid, for example. The object dimension. You see here also the concept of point. You have you have line, you have area, you have volume, and of course, important to know that the dimension in the object dimensions can't be bigger than, of course, the coordination dimensions. And in our experience, for example, in this whole, we mentioned use case management. In this whole use case environment, I will say the volume bodies, the volume solids are the most common. You can say the most common type. And in the end, the geometric calculation, it can be explicit, really derived from the faces and edges, like boundary representation, or implicit, for example, derived from the Boolean expressions of primitive objects, like the construction solid geometry, for example. And the additional description is just to add additional value to the topic. If this point doesn't make sense, for example, you can find maybe an explanation for you that can cover the last piece that you need, for example. And as I mentioned before, an addition to this whole topic is also the proposal assignment. Again, it's a proposal of assignment to the EFC 4.3 classes. and it's of course you see here a prototype, but it's also something that is important for the to the working group to of course to map the classes on the EFC standard 4.3. Yes. So one of the last important parts when it comes to BIM classes of traffic routes, it's the really important cooperation with in German, as I said, it's Autobahn GmbH, and of course the Federal Federal Association of Road Infrastructure, and this two are a major part of the concept of the development. And first of all, the catalog should and shall be the only object catalog for the BIM Federal Trunk Road Authority. I think it's nicer described. Second point is the base of the whole concept, the base of the whole work is the preliminary work of the individual partners. It's important to say. The coordination lies still will lie within the Autobahn or Highway Ltd. Partners involved will continue to be involved as experts in future. Also an important part to say, it's not over. It will still be exchange of knowledge. But it's also important to say that partners involved agree to coordinate on a regular basis. He is just I mean, it's important to say that, of course, the partners can publish experts or abstracts from the object catalog. The object catalog is you can say the current status of the best possible consensus. It's a principle, as we said above, in this whole general harmonization. It was an important part. And the last part is as you see here, the partners involved are called up to aim consensus on further data. So as we said, it will be further work to deploy this on the BIM Federal Highway Object Catalog. Yes, and in the end, I will say, as we said, it's still work. It's still work has to be done. There are still our market is evolving, and we are open for suggestions. We are open for comments. We are open, of course, for to work to exchange knowledge and to let our network grow. And in the end, we will see what will be how maybe the object catalog 3.0 will look like with how many classes, groups, and attributes. So in the end, suggestion, comments, please be welcome to contact the experts groups, and you have the link below. Again, the presentation is of course available. And thank you for your attention.
Hi, Ahmet. Thanks very much for your presentation. You can probably hear you're getting a round of applause from the infrastructure room.
Thank you.
We apologize for the confusion at the start of the presentation. I was pleased that Juergen was able to join you and at least give some help and advice. So thank you, Juergen. I'm just going to ask if there are any questions on your presentation from anybody in the room today. If anybody in the online Hopin platform has questions or comments, please add them into the comments section. Let's just see if we, before we pass to Florian, I'll bring Florian in as well. I think Christoph would like to ask a question. Would you like to go to the microphone, please, Christoph? Thank you. Can you see Christoph on
It's
there?
only question. It's only question, no remarks, no development. Yes, two questions, because I don't see anything about that in your presentation. Is the compliance with ISO 23386 about your classification approach in catalog? And because if I have the question, because the second question is, what is the relationship between the BSDD, where we have already implemented a lot of semantics regarding pavement, bridge, tunnel and drainage and so on, based on the 2336. So I'm not saying that it's the same job. My question is how to have the compliance between that, because I think that there is a parallel approach, and we need to find the best way to collaborate and so on.
As I thank you very much. As I understood you, the first question was also related to the I2 environment, or did I understood you? Because I didn't hear you the best. Could you?
I was speaking about the ISO 23386, which is adopted 1 year ago, 2 years ago by SEN. First of all, by SEN. And then by ISO about the way to organize the category, the property set, and so on, which is a way to collaborate with all of the industry about that.
I mean, of course, it's important to, as we said, it is not a new competition for the common. You mentioned ISO for the common standardization is already done, and you're talking about property set property. That means it is not as nailed, as independent as it should be. We don't want to define a structure when it comes to this topic, because for example, in the German speaking environment, you don't just only have the property set and property environment. You have different, or I will say, software vendors that cannot, or you have to map the export of the data to this property set and property environment. So in that sense, our main objective is to define the material, to add this you can say semantic information, but but not to try to be independent as it gets related to the standards that you mentioned, and of course to work together. Case. Did I answer it, or do you?
Are you happy with that answer, Christoph, or would you like a follow-up? I think Christoph would like to talk to you separately, Ahmet. Okay, we're gonna discuss that topic further with the infrastructure room steering committee. So thanks very much for raising that today. Thanks for your question, Christoph. Juha Lucas online says very impressive. I didn't get to follow from the very beginning, but is the classification based on some standard? Have you taken advantage of, for instance, ISO 12006 and ISO 81346 standards?
To be honest, that's a question that I'm not 100% sure, and if it is possible, Lucas can ask me after the meeting. I will have to check it.
Okay, thank you. And one last one from Juha. He was asking whether some of the information you were showing was in German, I think. He was asking if there's a translation of the terms into English. I think, as I understood, the version is on the German market. The version is rated to the German language. I'm not sure if it will be a translation. So yeah. But again, it's also a topic that I can ask our colleagues. But yeah, the main I see.
Maybe I can add something. We offer the mapping for or with IFC 4.3. So that's of course not exactly a translation, but we were keen and we tried to link it with the international language use. So it's, as he said, as Ahmet said, it's for the German market, but everyone will find on our website the mapping with IFC 4.3. I don't know if it's relevant to translate all of it because it's a German thing, actually.
At least
And the trade models, trade objects are really also related to the German market. So yeah.
Christoph's just going to just say a few words in response.
I think it's really the debate what you are saying. We have already partially commonly with the US in the BSDD a list of properties translated from France and English and US, and I think it's absolutely crucial to be verified that we can compare. That is absolutely crucial to be that. That's the reason the question, I have the same question that you have to be able to compare. We have to be go through the ISO 23386 to verify if we are speaking about the same thing. To be compared, we need 2 steps to have a definition, but to verify if we are speaking about the same properties and with the same element of definition of the properties. That reason, I mean, for any case, in my life, I work with Strabag as a French company. I need to be verified if we are speaking the same language, not the same approach with different language, but the same approach. That's the reason the question of compliance with 23386 is absolutely crucial. I'm not saying that what it is done in Germany is rubbish. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that to be very useful for a company working worldwide, we need to be able to make this comparison. And that is the reason the reference to ISO is very important.
Okay, thank you, Christoph. Yeah, perhaps something we can discuss again in the infrastructure room steering committee meetings, and picking up on the last point in terms of could we make it an international standard instead of perhaps a local German standard? Yes, we certainly could, through an infrastructure room activity proposal and project, using our process, of course. So that's great. Thank you, Ahmet. We're going to move to Florian for his half of today's presentation. I'm just going to do just a very few words of introduction to the session that I should have done at the beginning, but we had problems at this end at the start, and we have the sound working now. As you can see on screen, this is infrastructure room session number 5, and we are hearing from Ahmet and Florian on the 2 topics that are described. I do have to remind people, both online and here in the room, that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted, and that their process for adoption is transparent, and that standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider but are open, non-binding and accessible to all. And you can see our antitrust code of conduct on the screen. I think that's probably enough from me. So, Florian, I'm going to invite you to share your screen. I'll let you know when we can see your screen, your slides. It's down the bottom of the screen where it says present. Yep, they're coming up.
So is this the presentation mode?
Yeah, I've just put them on the screen, and I'll make it full screen at our end. I'll take you off the screen for now, Ahmet, as well. Mm-hmm. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, and good morning to Canada. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present our latest activities in introducing building information modeling in the German Federal Administration for traffic and roads. After one of the largest administrative reforms in federal history, it's the reform of the Federal Trunk Road Administration, we do now have a consolidated task and cost management of motorway projects and a central coordination of tasks. So this development allows the German Federal Ministry for Digital and Transport, it's the BMDW, in a much more efficient way, the central introduction of BIM in federal road construction. And I would like to speak on behalf of the BMDW with regard to the master plan BIM on federal trunk roads, and for the Federal Trunk Road Authority, the FBA, with regard to the introduction of a model-based approval process. So my presentation consists of the following sections, starting with a very brief presentation of the FBA as my employer and active member of the BIM steering committee for federal road construction, I will spotlight on the master plan on federal trunk roads in the first part. In the second part, I will present our activities as a result of implementing the master plan. Thus, I would like to transfer the theory of the master plan to first practical steps. The FBA is a higher level federal authority and an executive agency of the BMDW. Since January 2021, the federal motorways are no longer managed by the federal states acting as agents of the federal government, but by the federal administration. For that reason, the federal government has now the sole responsibility for planning, construction, operation, maintenance, asset management, and funding of federal motorways. How is BMDW doing this? So BMDW is splitting tasks and powers to FBA and Autobahn GmbH while keeping control through technical, legal, and administrative supervision. BMDW is also shareholder of Autobahn GmbH, and the FBA itself is supervisory and approval authority with technical and legal supervision on Autobahn GmbH. And FBA is also empowered by statutory powers transferred from the BMDW. And two main statutory tasks of the FBA are, for instance, to carry out public consultations and to carry out plan approvals. I hope I didn't lose you already by all these legal information, but it's important to notice that we do now have an administrative structure that encourages centrally managed processes. Taking a more technical perspective here, these tasks and responsibilities pointing out that planning, building, maintaining, and operating clearly define the profile of Autobahn GmbH, while the FBA's profile with legal and technical supervision, different plan approval processes, and support of the BMDW is of a more legal and semi-operational nature. And this is again important when we are talking about the introduction of BIM and the definition of use cases. Now to the master plan, BIM on federal trunk roads. We are now in year 7 after the Reform Commission on the construction of major projects. That commission recommended BIM to improve planning and construction and pointed out, first build digitally, then for real. You can read this timeline here as alternation of milestone documents as strategic key points and phases of practice and implementation. I think 4 main phases might be emphasized. The first phase is the preparatory phase, starting 2015, going to 2017, with 2 main strategy documents. I call it step-by-step plan. It's somehow difficult to translate those the German wording. I mean, the step-by-step plan 2015 prepared the testing of the BIM method and defined first requirements with the help of first pilot projects. This phase led to a more methodology-based phase of extended piloting, which is still continuing. Within this phase, BIM for Infra created handouts supporting the implementation process by consulting and support services mandated by BMDW. And in addition, BIM Germany was founded by the Federal Ministry of Housing, Urban Development and Construction and the BMDW. BIM Germany is still the national center for the digitization of the construction industry and follows a uniform and coordinated approach of the BIM implementation in federal infrastructure and building construction. BIM Germany supports the federal government in the coordination and the quality assurance of its BIM activities. The third phase is the master plan phase, as direct continuation of the step-by-step plan and puts BIM into concrete terms for the federal trunk road construction. It defines the common understanding of BIM and federal road construction and provides the model guideline and recommendation for action, the master plan realization, and its updating, it's still ongoing. The fourth phase is more a look into the future. It's BIM as standard process planned for 2025, and simultaneously with the next conceptual phase, or the start of the next conceptual phase, the digital twin. The master plan relies on these 6 context modules, which are directly connected to the central objectives of the master plan. It's the joint centrally managed BIM implementation executed by the BIM steering committee for road construction. It's the sorting, standardization, and harmonization. It's to derive knowledge from the pilot projects. It's the support and digital targeting, for instance, by BIM Germany and others. It's the supplementation of organization-specific content. That means providing space for individual developments, and the successive development of networks, bringing together all partners involved in infrastructure projects. So the strategy model plausibly links the vision of the future, or the future image, the phased implementation, the goals and measures of the 4 strategic fields of action. That means the strategy model acts as the common thread in the implementation process. The future image at the top describes what can be achieved in the long term based on an implemented BIM method. In the implementation strategy of this master plan, the path to the digital twin of federal trunk roads is defined in a 3-stage phase model. By means of a stepwise introduction of use cases, I will come to this later, the time frame of necessary further development and specification is structured in a targeted manner. In this way, BMDV sets the strategic direction for Autobahn GmbH, for the FBA and other contract administrations, and provides a reliable and nationally uniform orientation. Based on clearly defined goals, BMDV specifies strategy and purpose of the BIM implementation. And the foundation is built, of course, by specific measures and operation in the already mentioned 4 fields of action: processes, guidelines, people, and technology. And those 4 fields are addressed in the supplementing documents of the BIM master plan. The strategy model is put into action based on a common understanding of BIM, which is also key of the master plan. The common understanding of BIM and gained contents are translated into practice, of course, by means of use cases. And use cases substantiate the implementation and build the basis of the phased implementation process. Generally speaking, use cases are defined in phases representing particular complexity levels and may also be assigned to these 3+1, I would say, phases of the implementation process. I talked about 3 phases here. The standard process beginning in 2025 is a bit outside. So we are now at the beginning of phase 2. Pilot projects are realized and the supplementing documents are to be continued and updated. The objective of phase 2 is the coordinated use of BIM in first major projects and projects of particular public interest. In phase 3, the widespread use of BIM in major projects is to be realized and the application of BIM in all new projects obligatory. So what you also see is that we do have a rising number of use cases going on with the time, and also rising BIM requirements and this rising complexity level. And when we look closer to 2025, the beginning of the standard process, I will now switch to the next topic. we can see that this is just the start of a new conceptual phase, the digital twin. And this future image is already addressed in current activities by so-called test fields, even though the BIM implementation on the one side and the digital twin on the other side are administratively separated actions. And here on the right side, you get some important aspects of the digital twin. So planning, constructing, and maintaining should be based on fully integrated digital twins. Digital twins digitally map the physical infrastructure with all relevant information. And despite the fact that the operation of the infrastructure is of major concern here, a digital twin for the FBA, for example, as basic database for approvals and supervisory tasks is also like really interesting throughout the entire planning and approving process. One outstanding example for already gained achievements with regard to the transformation from analog over model or BIM-based information management to the future image digital twin is the rewarded Köhlbrandbrücke in Hamburg. BIM Hamburg is also part of the BIM steering committee on federal road construction and responsible for the supplementing documents of the master plan. So BIM Hamburg is providing a high-level knowledge base and experiences within the field of realized BIM projects to the BIM steering committee and the overall implementation process. I will now summarize part 1 on the master plan. So everybody is surely familiar with these strategic objectives accessible through the implementation of BIM in a targeted manner. So a strategy-based implementation increases efficiency, cost stability, optimizes sustainability, improves communication, and so on. But the master plan and its supplementing documents also explain the common understanding of BIM as foundation for the implementation process. They include a strategy model as common thread. They describe strategic objectives of the implementation process, but also address like more practical points of use in the supplementing documents and simultaneously provide the future image. An updated version of the master plan will be published in 2023, also supplemented with an English version. So until now, we are only going in German, but there will be an English version. To the second part, BIM at FBA, where are we? What we have learned is that FBA is involved in the nationwide BIM implementation process. Here, FBA is part of this unique inner German BIM steering committee, coordinating the overall implementation for federal road construction. Within this committee, FBA is mandated by the BMDW to completely develop use case 090. It's just a number, but it's our number here, approval process to be implemented in the master plan. So FBA itself has no like particular legal or technical instruction to do so, but we can choose our right path to reach the goal. And the goal is to get a well-founded use case description on how to realize this BIM-based approval process. And we are then reporting to the steering committee and are being reviewed by the federal states. At the moment, we as FBA are focusing on the model-based approval process. And while these lifelines of planning, building, operating, and deconstructing should better be like displayed by circles, I wanted to show that we are placing this approval block to better preserve the whole process of planning and building from disruptions. And to increase the resolution of our considerations, please like read this middle block here as the whole approval process that is, of course, again, being segmented in different parts. We are starting somewhere here with projects captured in the Federal Road Construction Plan. And these projects are planned by project owners Autobahn GmbH or DIGES and approved by the FBA. And crossing this line from planning approval or plan approval to the construction phase, the FBA is more or less out of the race. During the approval process, documents and informations are delivered in different depth of information, and this depth of information is increasing with the ongoing alternating approval and planning process. But what information and documents are we talking about? So, of course, we do have a standardized, well-described and scaled 2D representation of planning information. And those 2D representations that are technically and formally well defined by rules and regulations are, of course, still obligatory. So this table here, I hope you can see this here. This table here shows subjects needed to be passed to the FBA depending on the kind of approval process. And it acts like a checklist for both the project owner delivering information and the authority examining the planning information. But the model-based work, I mean, the planning is it's a BIM-based, model-based planning. The model-based work on the side of the approving authority requires a further development of the existing layout concept defined by scales. As a consequence of the 3D planning by the project owners, we as approving authority go from 2D to 3D for particular information. And therewith, we are testing the possibility to avoid derivations of 2D plans just and only for the approval process. In the first stage, we supplement the plan-based information with model information, meaning that we still approve the 2D plan, but examine the model. As you can see, I mean, this is no rocket science, but for the authority part who is mainly responsible to legally grant building rights, using a common data environment plus estimate and approve digitally is a big issue. What you can see here is more or less a simple workflow for us. So we are defining contents and pilot projects to be dealt with in a common data environment. At the moment, we are using E+ as CDE provided by the project owners. In the future, we will most probably have our own CDE on the authority side. We are then examining technical planning documents in an individual way. And of course, we are communicating in a digital manner and luckily approved digital at the end. We use pilot projects together with the project owners to gain knowledge in the implementation process. And these projects, which are set up as sprints, conceptual and technical application related content is brought together and recorded in a project descriptions. An iterative approach is followed up as the approval procedures themselves are mostly lengthy and complex procedures. So the project descriptions are based on the supplementing documents, and here the circle is closing to the master plan and will of course be added to the master plan as well. So we are continuing the supplementing or updating the supplementing documents here. This ensures the transferability of the implementation strategy upstream and downstream other approval procedures and authority levels. So I wanted just to show with the scheme that we do split this use case 09T, or let's just name it approval process, on different approval projects and or approval procedures. And then we do different use cases. And of course, we are defining different contents in this particular use cases too. To the end, the FBA envisions itself as a digital authority, not only because we are involved in the BIM implementation process, but also because we believe that digitization, of course, is the future for the authorities. the first steps are taken by the FBA, and those are the use of a common data environment and also collaboration tools. And the FBA is, of course, working on this use case approval process to be developed for the master plan. The creation of digital standards and workflows is seen as the basis for the sustainable success of digitization and BIM implementation. And of course, the FBA will further support the BMDW and will be an active pioneer, I would say, in the application of BIM among German authorities. As I said before, version 2 of Master Plan will be published in 2023. And yes, just to do some, just to prepare some connection perhaps in the future. The FBA will join buildingSMART Germany latest in January 2023. The BMDW is already also member. And yes, as my colleague said, also several others, big players in Germany. So I think this is right for the future. So thanks a lot for your attention, and do not hesitate to put some questions in the audience.
Thank you. Thank you, Florian. Yeah, excellent presentation. As Florian said himself, I'll bring Ahmet back into the stream as well. If we have any questions for Florian in the room, please come to the microphone and do ask them. And if we have any questions from anybody online, then please add them into the comments. We have no questions at this point, but one request from me, Florian and Ahmet. Could you both please email me your presentations? Yep, that's to...
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Thank you, to john.proctor@buildingsmart.org. We've been talking on email before today, as I'm sure you recall. Any questions or comments from anybody?
Could I ask something? Is it okay?
Yeah, please do.
Hi, Florian. Just
Yes.
two questions. You mentioned the update of the master plan. Can you give us maybe a hint in which direction will the update go? More precise, will, for example, additional use case be described, or what can we think about, or what? Yeah.
Yes. So as I said, the use cases are like assigned to different complexity levels. So three phases, and we are like defining the use cases. Then we are doing this. Then we are doing the pilot projects or the projects on the use cases. We like finish the projects, and then we are going to the next phase. So yes, there will be an update mainly on the use cases. There will be an update on use case descriptions. The strategy document, it will remain. So this is not to be updated, but it's mainly the use cases.
Okay, great. And thank you very much. And the second question, you mentioned, I think a major and big topic, the project platform or the CDE. I mean, how can I understand it? You want to develop your own CD. Is it maybe in near future, or is it really? Yeah.
So we got some money from the BMDW to develop a CDE together with the railway approval authority. And yes, there will be like an development here together with, it's called ETZ Bund. It's like IT administration support. Yes, right. There will be like an own CDE for us. Okay, and is maybe also an intersection port planned, an API for other systems, or yes, of course. I mean, we have like not that much offices or construction companies, but we do have like Autobahn GmbH or Diges or different federal states, they need to communicate with us. So yes, this is the plan to be like real open to them.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to work together.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you for the questions there, Ahmet. So there are no further questions in the room nor online, so I'm going to bring this session to an end. Just to thank you both again for joining us today and making such excellent presentations, and thank you for your help and support in the infrastructure room. We will see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See you.